This is a DSi XL, an American console, and I hope to be running the third round of tests on it. Oh, really? I have a lot of different... Game card slot, pin bent up, guide peg busted. Oh, I remember this one. So, let me explain that, actually. Let me grab one of my, just an out motherboard. Oh, this might be very hard to see. So, inside the motherboard, inside the game card slot specifically, there are these little tiny pegs, little tiny like bumps. You can see them right there actually. One of the ones in the middle is just completely broken off. I don't know how. My assumption is that really has no meaning because the ones surrounding it are fine. I think it's just more to guide the game card in because the game cards have these ridges on them. It just helps slide it in straight. But it's only one of the pegs that are broken. I'll look at that when I take this apart. Hopefully it doesn't have trouble reading game cards. It does say it has a trouble reading game cards, plural, when the game cards are bottomed out in the game card slot, which I don't see as much of a problem because that's pushing my game card slot test to the extreme, in which I can't imagine a real life scenario where this would ever be a problem. But it's something I do as part of the game card slot test, mainly just for fun. And if game cards can be read when they're bottomed out, then that usually means the game card slot is in very good shape. If it can't read them when they're bottomed out, it's not in perfect shape, but it is more than enough for everyday use. So I'll pay special close attention to the game card slot when I get to that step. But let me grab my digital records for this console, see if I have anything more. It looks like I also replaced the R button. I'm guessing I just replaced that entire assembly. So this is a bronze US 9727. This guy right here, notes. Minor rust around bottom screen. I'll check that. New digitizer, I noticed that. Bent one game card pin up, should be good. Okay, so I've had to bend the game card pins up. Before I get too far, let me open it up, confirm the motherboard, see if I can spot those little issues, or the guide peg being broken, as well as if I spot anything with the game card slot. I might just do the game card slot test first. I typically don't do that test right away. But if the game card slot's still having problems, I'm going to want to try and address it further. And I don't want to put through all the effort to do a testing protocol when all of the other tests are going to be fine. Because it's very much... all of my notes are game card slot related, so I want to make sure that's nice and good before I actually go ahead and do the rest of the tests to fully clear this console for sale. Why do I always lose the pick that I like? Here somewhere. Not this one. I don't really like that one. I need to kind of shave it down, actually. It's just getting a little rough. I would have put it back here if I were using it. Or it would be in my aggressive pile of tools. Oh, here it is. Perfect. I like this one because it's smoother. I don't have to worry about it damaging any of the plastics. I will remove the shoulder buttons. And if I did remove the R button, I'm guessing I found one that works real good. Alright, so let's look at the game card slot. So yeah, I already see it. So when I was looking at those guide pegs, you can see that that pin right there is far more exposed than the other ones. And that's not just a trick of the light. You can see that that pin's really exposed. It's just because one of those pegs, these like little pegs, are broken off. It's right in the center. I understand it to be like a guide peg, like I said. So, for instance, as the game card is sliding in, it's just making sure that that it fits in there very, very nicely. I don't even know, like, the only way I can think of that peg breaking is if somebody tried jamming in a game card slot with one of these, like, dividing pieces, like, snapped off or, like, broke over, basically. So instead of running parallel, maybe that one ran, it, like, snapped and then went this way. So then when somebody tries shoving it in, it just broke one of those pegs off. Or at least weakened it. I think I actually remember pulling the peg out myself. A lot of the times I'm opening these consoles for the very first time. But other than that, I mean, the pins look fine. It's just that guide peg is just gone. And again, it's in the middle, so this should have really no bearing. It doesn't impact its ability to hold the pin in. Like, because those pins sit in like little slots, you have to sort of push the pins in along little rails. Almost like a cabinet or like a drawer. It kind of has like slots that it slides in. And I just want to make sure, while I'm here, while I have it open, that will mean that pin is less supported, technically speaking. But that should not be an issue. So, yeah. Let me just confirm my motherboard here. Just real quick. Again, I am going to start off with the game card slot test, which is something I usually don't do. At least not in the order of operations I'm used to. I guess I should say, not exactly comfortable with. It's just if I stick with my normal order of operations, I'm less likely to forget anything. Okay, I'll get this back together. How much together? I will, yeah, the way I'm gonna perform the game card slot test, I need this thing to be fully together. I'll go ahead and do that. I really don't like taking screws out and putting them back in more than I need to. These are pretty sure when I was reading about these screws, they're specifically made to cut plastic. That's why their threads are so aggressive. They're not machine screws. They're when Nintendo screwed these in, be it a machine or somebody doing it by hand. Bless them if they did. When screwing these into the screw posts, it cut the threads. I mean, it would be kind of silly to tap plastic screw posts and then put in a machine screw. It's just easier to just plunge a screw in and just let it cut its own threads. But once it cuts the threads the first time, it almost functions as a machine screw. And I just want to keep making sure I'm following the same threads that it cut so I don't strip that post out. Okay, anyway. Well, these screens are pretty nice. Like these are very well matched. I'm very pleased. I shouldn't be too surprised, but just sometimes I have to get really close. When I match screens, I have to get close. I can never really get them right on. Okay, so I have all these game cards right here, 20 of them. I'll kind of walk through what I do here. So I'll grab a game card, this SpongeBob. Okay, it's just my camera feed of the screen makes it look like it has scan lines. It sure does not. Not in what I actually see. So that kind of threw me off there for a second. Okay. Anyway, screens are fine. Take the game card. I'll put it in normally. Click. Shows up. What I'll then do is put my fingers on it and shift it from side to side. There is a tiny bit of play in the game card slot. Just a little bit. Just enough to sort of jiggle the card side to side. And what I'm looking for is, does the game card disappear? And this would be like if you were to accidentally bump it. I would think just like, oops, like you touch it, basically. It's not much more aggressive than that. And then what I'll do is, while sort of shifting it from side to side, I'll push down on it all the way up until I hear the click of the game card slot, which engaging the mechanism to eject the game card, which I just did. And then for fun, what I'll do is I'll keep going. There's just a little more distance in there. Keep going until I completely bottom out the game cards, which is about that deep. It's not really that deep. While shifting it from side to side. And at this point, it's point of no return. Game card's coming out. So what I'll do is I'll do that a couple times just to see if I can get that game card to disappear randomly. So I usually do it maybe three or so times, nothing too crazy. So every time it's disappeared, it's because I ejected it, which is good. Now, I guess I can't really explain the rationale why I do that specifically. It does kind of help weed out a majority of like the connection issues with the game card slot, even though it's not so much realistic. Like if you're like fiddling with your game card as like a fidget toy while you're playing, you're just asking for problems, and that's kind of your fault at that point. The next test I do with the game card slot is a lot more realistic, I think. And basically all I do is just slap it against my open palm. See if the game card disappears. It also tests the battery as well to make sure it's nice and secure, making good contact. The console's not shutting off randomly. And kind of like I'm emphasizing, that's a lot more of a realistic test. Like if you're playing your game, shut your console, throw it in your bag, and it sort of rattles around against your stuff, which I hope it doesn't. But you know, it won't kill your console or freeze, or it won't. The game card won't momentarily disconnect, freezing your console or just completely shutting it off. So far so good. SpongeBob passed. So I'll just kind of go through these kind of quickly. I have 20 game cards, so it does take a little bit of time. I do need to grab a stylus for this console too. So I'll sort of make a comment if anything kind of cuts out in a way I don't expect. So every time it disappears, just sort of expect it to be because I ejected the game card. I mean, so far so good. I'm pretty pleased. It's amazing what bending the pin and cleaning the game card slot a few times will do. If I had to guess, the one that had the broken post was the one that needed to be bent. I bet I could go back and look at the video I have, or the videos I have on this console, and that will tell me kind of which one, what was going on. And then if I clear this game card slot, I need to put a screen protector on this console, or screen protectors, plural. The digitizer is brand new, and it's not so much I don't want to scratch the new digitizer. Third-party digitizers have this weird kind of texture to them, and dragging a stylus across them is just miserable. I am very pleased with the performance of this game card slot, because it really looks like this thing was having kind of a hard time, but I'm really unable to produce any sort of error. Oh god. I mean, I really don't have to go through these last 3 game cards, but I'm going to do it anyway, as I make my precarious tower even more unstable. Last, and probably least, okay, yeah, no. All of that work I did on that game card slot actually pays off. I'm very pleased. Okay, let me sort of get these in a somewhat stable grouping. Right, so I need to take this console back apart. What I want to do is put a couple pieces of tape over 2 connectors. And then that should be nice and good enough for me to finally button this console up, get screen protectors on it, run through the remainder of my test. I'm going to grab a stylus before I forget. Don't have any more bronze ones. Here's a white one I won't use. Orange wouldn't really make much sense. I think these 2 black ones are for the DSi. Let me actually check that. A lot of these styluses look very visually the same. Oh, that is very much for the DSi. Okay, this one as well. I need to put this with my DSi parts. I'm not going to use this one, I just want to check. Huh, I don't know what one that one's for. Anyway, I like using these ones. I found a listing on AliExpress that has good... I think they're pretty good styluses for what they are. I mean, I don't really like the small styluses. I much prefer the big boy. But I mean, in a pinch, these things come with the console. What I like about them is they have the little grippy texture on the back, and they have a really nice fitment. So shout out to whatever company that is. While I was digging around in my stuff, I'll grab a screen protector. Alright. Let me just make sure that the stylus is good. It's not holding on too hard. Yeah, it's acceptable. I mean, as much as I'd like to put an OEM bronze one in here... Yeah. Finding them is hard enough. Finding them in good shape is even harder. So, and really, I mean... I don't think it's really that big of a deal. All personal preference, so... I try the pair OEM ones if I have them, but most of the time I just have to use third party. Okay. So the two connectors I want to put tape on are the backlight connector for the bottom screen and the small connector for the digitizer. Now Nintendo puts tape over those out of the factory. I can only really guess why. But I'll never know why they decided to invest the money into putting small pieces of tape over that. Best guess I have, based on somewhat little to no information, is if they maybe found out during stress tests that those connectors pop open. My experience with these connectors is they're fairly robust. They're not just gonna pop open randomly. But that's sort of my best guess. So that little piece of tape adds that just enough adhesive to just hold it down against any sort of impacts. I imagine if your console takes a hell of an impact to pop those little connectors open, you have bigger problems on your hands. Like if you don't just completely blow the thing apart. So yeah, just like that. Nothing too crazy. Just little pieces of tape. Now, actually, I should have kept that little piece of tape I just threw away. So I just did a video of a console, a motherboard I fixed. I just want to check really quick. Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay. Something is scratching away. Well, I guess this motherboard does have some marks on it. Let me grab the microscope. And I might be able to look at this a little better, actually, because I have a bottom shell that's assembled. I'm kind of rambling, don't mind me. So you can almost see that there's like some damage to the silkscreen. On a motherboard I just did some work on, that trace right below that 5 was just cut. Something severed it, and that created a boot error. Everything under here looks fine. So I don't know what's scratching it. It's like obviously something is scratching it because that is right next to that trace. And it looks like right there, the trace is exposed, but it's not broken. So I'm not too worried about that. So I was kind of curious to find out, like, why? Like, what exactly is causing that? Like, if it's a burr on a screw, is it possibly a, like, piece of debris got in a certain spot and it just sort of rubbed away? So you'll just have to forgive me as I sort of look into that. I doubt it's a screw. The only thing that would be making contact is this SD card or the stylus holder. Yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense. So because there was a little bit of an exposed trace, I'm just going to put a little piece of tape over it. That should just add that added protection, keep anything from rubbing against it more. And we'll also keep that one area clear so that it won't have boot errors like those other motherboards had. There. That should be perfect. Alright, let's get this thing back together. Hopefully these consoles won't have to come apart again, ever. I mean, in a perfect world, the only other thing that needs to be replaced in this console is the battery, but we don't live in a perfect world, and these screens are going to go bad eventually. That's just kind of that's just what happens. Unfortunately, there's no real competent replacements. Brand new replacements. Holy crap. Not only would those be amazing, they would be super expensive. I'd have to sell these consoles at like capture card prices. Ooh, a new console, new screen with capture card installed. Ooh. I don't know if you could get away with selling those things for $500 a piece. But I can't imagine brand new third-party screens coming out cheaper than like $50 a piece. Especially not to a hyper niche market like DSi Excel enthusiasts, such as myself. All right. So let me get this kind of updated. So blum. Pretty sure I did these on test 2, which I'll clear. I won't clear it for test 3 quite yet, but at least all the game card slot problems I was not able to replicate. So now I'll actually grab the testing or the paperwork that I put with these consoles. So let me fill out this top up here. It's just the basic console information, motherboard, various, or the motherboard serial, the shell serial, battery life. I don't have the version number written on this, but I'll get that. Bronze. Shell serial WW409869727. Software version, don't know that. Motherboard serial number matched my digital records, so just write it from my digital records. 07 Y 06012 U01B3 DY negative A10. Battery life 4 hours and 30 minutes. Alright. Grab a drink of water. So, I need to put on a screen protector before I start going through stuff. Let me do that real quick. Oh boy. So you can already tell that the bottom screen already has like a weird color to it. And that is just the texture of that new digitizer. It almost looks like it's illuminated, but it isn't. It almost tricked me there for a second. I'll grab a pair of not so wet wipes. I need my applicator tool. It's probably my least favorite part. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if those will come up. There's like some weird smudging. Shouldn't be underneath the digitizer. That doesn't make any sense. I kind of have to hold it up to a particular light to even see it. I wonder if I can get it to show. Yeah, kind of right there, those smudges. That's weird. It's a brand new digitizer. And I know I didn't do any cleaning below it. Nothing like that. I mean, I don't see it when I look at the console head on. So those have to be underneath the digitizer. There's no other way. There's a hair. Okay. That's really weird. I'm fairly positive I tested this digitizer. It's just weird that it's like smudged. Yeah, you can you can really see it. It's not on top. Because when I do circular patterns, my not so wet wipe dried again. I mean, this is such a, like, this will be something I point out when I do my cosmetic testing. But it's really, I don't think I've ever seen this. Because I know I wouldn't have, I don't think I would have done that type of work. It is possible that's on the screen, but it doesn't look deep enough to be on the screen. I mean, I'm hitting this with rubbing alcohol, so it should be... Yeah, it looks like it's on the surface, but it isn't. Either it's right on the other underside of the digitizer, or it's on the LCD. And really, I mean, this comes down to you have to really bend the... You have to kind of look at it at an angle to see it. I'll make note of it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Nothing worth throwing away the digitizer. Because that's just blatantly wasteful. And I mean, those things cost a few bucks. I really don't want to throw them away if they're otherwise functional. This console's not going to receive perfect marks just based on the shell condition, so it sort of fits the category that I'll be putting it in. Alright, time to suffer and cry as something inevitably goes wrong during this install. Looks like that actually went on pretty well. Yeah, those weird smudges are still there. That is so weird. Like, and they're really small smudges, too. Like, if they were any bigger, I would maybe take the blame for that. But yeah, you can definitely see them right here. And I mean, if you're looking at the screen head on, and especially when you're looking at it when it's on, I'd be very hard pressed to say those are even visible. They're not scratches. I just think that I'm more perplexed at how odd it is. Because I usually, when I put on digitizers, I'm usually like, peel, put them straight on. I don't touch the undersides of them if I don't need to. So, and just the way it looks like it's on the digitizer and not on the LCD display. Because there would be, at least I would think I could tell the difference between the depth of the two. Something I'll mention, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it might be a big deal to somebody. Which is why I like to try and be as critical as I can about these consoles, so that if there's a very specific niche thing that bothers somebody, they'll be able to know what that is without having to guess whether or not this console actually has it. And I could just be catering to a person that doesn't exist. Ooh. I may have just spoiled this. We'll see. try and see if I can save it. It's tilted up a little, so it's catching on the top of the shell here. It's not that big of a deal, but if I flex the shell in a specific way, it'll lift up the screen protector on the corner. Ooh, it's grabbing the whole screen protector. Perfect. I might be able to reorient it. I just can't really touch it. That's kind of the problem here. Be very careful. I think that did it, actually. Now let me see if I can just get the film off. Get the number 2 film. There it goes. Okay. A few little bubbles I need to work out, but I think that overall went really well. Considering I had to reposition it, which it doesn't look like it's perfect. It looks like it's catching here right on the corner of the shell. It is catching on the shell just a bit. It's not enough to pull the screen protector into the visible view. I think I might just let it pass. I just need to do a little bit of massaging here. Okay, I think I will just keep that as it is, because if I try molesting the screen protector anymore, like the idea of lifting it up, I'm not going to be able to do that without completely fouling it. And I think it's good enough where it is. It is catching the edge of this shell just a little bit, enough to pull it up slightly, but I have to bend the top shell quite a bit in order to do that. I don't think I'm going to be able to show that happening. No, not really. You can kind of see it lift up in the corner when I flex the top shell, but ideally you don't even want to flex the top shell, so... Okay, and then that gives this bottom screen a much more pleasant texture. Alright, so let's go to the actual testing protocol here. I'm running a little short on time. I hope I'll have enough for this full protocol. If not, I might have to cut a little bit short and... Oh, I don't want to cut it short. I'll deal with that when I get to it. So I'll be doing this row of protocol right here. These are all test and fail. These are all the cosmetic assessments I'll be doing later. So The very first one is motherboard and power board. Simple test. A console wouldn't be making it this far if it failed this test, but basically what I'm looking for is, does the console turn on? Yes. Does it open up an application? Yes. Which this is running version 1.4.5. Simple test, but it's just something I like checking off. Makes everything feel complete. All right. Next is tactile buttons. Now those are all of the face buttons as well as the shoulder buttons. So for this, I'll be slotting in my DS Pico, soft rebooting, and then going into a piece of homebrew software. Oh, I guess because I accidentally went into this, I'll do the touchscreen test. I'll do the tactile button after this, since we're kind of doing everything out of order now. So for the touchscreen test, I have another piece of homebrew software that turns the entire bottom screen into a drawing pad. What I'll start by doing is just drawing a perimeter. Having a screen protector will kind of interrupt it because my stylus will get caught on the edges of the screen protector. Normally, you're not going to be doing inputs at the very edges of the screen. At least I don't think so. It was able to draw a box. Kind of a little away from the corner. Probably, it's all within reason. Then what I'll be doing is just some swirls. Ooh, what I'm noticing is it's... This is not going to be very easy to explain, but this feels really weird. It's like the screen protector has, or the digitizer has bumps, and I can feel it through the screen protector. And because of that, I'm not getting steady inputs. Wow, that's weird. I need to check another console. I think this one has a new Okay, this one has a new digitizer as well. This is a console I just recently assembled after swapping out the screens. So I'm going to open it up and go into DS Pico. Yeah, so that's how my new digitizers should behave. Like, yeah, I missed that input up there, right there, but I mean... also needs to be calibrated, it looks like. I'll deal with that later, that's not the focus here. Let me remove this screen protector then. Something's not right with this digitizer. It just feels really strange. So I'm just gonna... I hate doing this because I can't reuse it. Let me just see if it is the touch. This. Maybe it was this touchscreen. Is this touchscreen bad? I really don't know how to explain it, but I'll ignore that for now. Get back into DS Pico. I have it installed. I don't exactly like dragging my stylus across these new digitizers. This is now no longer a... Yeah, this digitizer's bad. I'm not able to do like a smooth... And I'm using pressure that I think is necessary. DSI XL. Is it just like... Let me try calibrating it. My best understanding is calibration will be unable to fix that. Like, that is not something a calibration can fix. But you know what? I can be surprised. Should have probably done that before removing the screen protector, but just something about this screen protector is not right. Or this bottom screen. I had to take out DS Pico because it will auto boot into it every time. Oops. Yeah, no. It's almost like it works, but it requires far more pressure than what is reasonable to it to even... So let me try and just do... Like, this is a fairly hard input. I would not do this on a DS console. Like, I'm pushing down, and it does input pretty good. This would be an input I would be comfortable doing on a DS. And it's not so much dead zones, it's just like... Yeah, this digitizer is toast. I don't know what's wrong with it. I can't say I've ever seen that before. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, I'll slap a new digitizer on it and see if I can get... Oh, gee whiz. Hopefully this wasn't one of my new digitizers. Maybe it was one I recycled off of another console. It is a third-party one. But I know some of the third-party ones that I've gotten have just been weird. Like, I had one that didn't even fit inside the console shell. And hopefully I'll be able to take care of all those, like, smudges that I saw if it was just on that digitizer. I will have to check the LCD screen, and I should be able to clean the LCD screen fairly efficiently. I can probably take a chem wipe to it and take off all the smudges. I gotta undo my fancy tape job. Get everything disconnected. I guess maybe that should emphasize that I really need to test out these new digitizers when I put them in and not just assume they work. I mean, If this is the very first like aftermarket digitizer that I'm pretty sure I installed that had an issue. What I might want to do is actually put in a stock screen with a stock digitizer just to make sure it's not a component end problem. I've never heard of a component issue causing that type of like hard digitizer input. Oh, and here's the rust on the side of the screen. Just a little bit of like surface rust. Nothing that infiltrated. Let me grab a screen. So this is just a random screen that has a OEM digitizer. So I just want to put it in and just see how the console reacts, just to make sure it's not motherboard side. If it is motherboard side, that is the first time I've ever seen a problem like this. Not going to do anything crazy, I'm just going to get it to boot and go into DSPCO again. I just got everything plugged in so it doesn't get pinched in the shell when I put everything back together, or when I put the rear shell back together. Even if it's just sort of fitting it back on. Alright. There's a kind of obnoxious color difference. And this bottom screen is very significantly different. It's quite yellowed, actually. Yeah. So this is what I would be using normal pressure with. This is an OEM screen, OEM digitizer. I mean, it does perform better. It's not skipping inputs. Touche, third party. I'm not going to say the third party ones are junk. I always thought they were fine, but I mean, when OEM is better, OEM is better. What I think I might end up doing is just adding the replacing the digitizer after I eat. Because my stomach is yelling at me. I do want to take it off, or I do at least want to unpeel it and see if that's where all the smudging is. I don't really need to put those back together, so let me just set these aside. I need to make sure I don't mix this battery up. So here's the screen I want to work on. This can go away. I have all the marks from when I was... So there's those smudges. I need to know if they're on the screen side, the LCD side, or the digitizer side. Need to be somewhat careful. Well, I really don't care about the digitizer, but I do care about the LCD. Oh, there is some amount of smudges on the LCD side. Yeah, but they're all digitizer side. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say there's no smudges on the LCD. This is weird. Is there even any adhesive on this? Yeah, I don't think this is one of my digitizers. Because I'm pretty sure mine has black adhesive. The third party ones that I've been getting. Very strange. Let me grab a Kim wipe. And I mean, I'm this deep, I'm just gonna put the digitizer on. I'm not very good at keeping my own promises. So here's the ones that I get. They have this black adhesive on it. This is much different from these ones. And I mean, yeah, this is just a completely different digitizer. Never seen before. At least I don't recall. But I'll spend some time trying to get these smudges off. Kim Wipe should do it. It's kind of made to do that. Kim Wipes do leave a lot of fibers behind. It's kind of my only real complaint, but I mean, if I can get this LCD nice and clean. I have to be very meticulous. Shine it in different light. Grab a Q-tip, sort of knock free anything that I see. Because I think I would be almost too much of a perfectionist to put on a screen protector or put on a digitizer and just leave like massive smudges on the LCD without actually attempting to clean them. Dust between the LCD and the digitizer, I understand, because there's only so much I can do about that. But smudges is something else. I mean, that looks pretty good. I don't see anything other than just like various bits of dust, which I might just have to not be able, like there's only so much I can do about that. Sometimes doing the adhesive tape leaves behind residue. Would be nice to do this in a bit of a clean room setting. Don't have to worry about specks of dust falling on it, falling on everything I do. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I need a screen. I just need a reference. So it's like this. There are little tabs on the edge of this that I can pull off. It'll pull off both of the protector and the adhesive. And then I want to go like this. Try and square it up with the boards. Square it up with the frame. Best I can. Kind of give it a quick visual just to see if I have it. I haven't pressed down too hard. I think I need to readjust it. I need to lower it a little. I think I got it. Ooh, I see one piece. One little thing under there. Kind of see it. The little white hair. Of course. Of course. Of course. I didn't press down too hard, so I should just be able to lever this up. Hopefully puff it out. Something like that. Yeah, so this is the digitizer that I'm used to seeing. Okay. Not this. It looks like there is some, like, sort of adhesive on it. That kind of looks like my double-sided tape. No, it isn't, because I don't have thick double-sided tape for this top part. I do have thin double-sided tape to go around the edges. I don't have thick stuff. Like, this is a much thicker double-sided tape. Yeah, that's thick. And there are very clear, like, smudges on the underside of this. Wow. So, I'm kind of appalled. Okay. So that means these digitizers still have credibility, which I'm kind of happy. I might keep this digitizer to put in my test consoles. Like, even if it is kind of shitty, it still responds to touch input, and I can use that. Okay, so let me get this bezel off, because I want to reuse it. Might even be able to reuse it with the adhesive on it. So, because I don't have to worry about an LCD display getting damaged, I can just flood this thing with alcohol. Really get it nice and drunk. Soften up whatever adhesive was used to put this on in the first place. And then I can let it dry, and then I may be able to reuse the adhesive. Which that'd be nice. That'd be really nice. So I don't have to... Ooh, this is coming off maybe a little easier than I expected. Which may mean it still has the OEM adhesive on it. Find out pretty quickly. It does. And it looks like it's still in pretty good shape, so I'll reuse it. See if I have a tester screen with a bad digitizer that I can replace real quick. I think I had two that I just snipped the digitizer ribbon off because they just sucked. Here's one. Ooh, even less adhesive behind. Awesome. Now, I don't really care too much about these screens. This one has some aggressive rust around the edges of it that I am not going to try and reuse. So all I really need it to do is just receive inputs. Everything else is not important. Reduce, reuse, recycle. And then this digitizer, I think I just ended up flexing the ribbon connector too much and it just broke. Okay, I mean, still has some tackiness to it. These things don't really need to be held in very hard. So once that alcohol really nice and dries, it should be nice and tacky. Which I think is we're pretty much at that point. Yeah, it's still nice and tacky. Perfect. Yes, I know, stomach. I'm trying. I'll put in this bottom screen and I'll do a very light test on the digitizer because I don't want to scratch it. Just to see if it is responding in a way that I'm expecting. Okay, now these new... The only thing I will say, well, there are two things I don't like about these third-party digitizers. One is the texture. Two is the ribbon cable connector is like off. I mean, it's off by a good few millimeters. It's not that big of a deal, it just kind of makes bending it around a bit of a pain. I have to kind of corkscrew it a little. And that's not because I installed this incorrectly, unless that would be news to me. My understanding is I've been installing them just fine. It's just kind of the positioning of that ribbon cable. Alright, I'm just going to kind of fit it together. And I just want to see where we're at here. That already looks so much better than... There's no smudges. The texture isn't so wildly different because whatever material that was made this bottom screen like glow. I wonder if I can get away with just using a Q-tip just to be very gentle on the screen. I mean, this is a Q-tip and it's already performing better. It is skipping some inputs, but I am kind of using an atypical stylus. You know what? Let's just do it. This is an OEM. I just don't want to scratch. Yeah, that is night and day better. Fantastic. Okay. I'm gonna go get something to eat. I did not think I was going to be doing this much work on a console so close to being sold, but again, it is one of those things where, well, I guess not again because this is the first time I'm mentioning it, but it's one of those things where because I test these consoles between like over the span of weeks sometimes, it allows me to look at these consoles with a fresh pair of eyes every single time. Like the smudges on the bottom screen, I did not notice. I don't know how I didn't notice it, but it was just something I wasn't really looking for, and now I did. So that allowed me to sort of connect the dots that something's not right, and then me doing the touchscreen test kind of confirmed that there was just something wrong with that digitizer. Got it replaced, it seems to be functioning, so I'm going to get it back all together and go through all the testing again, save for the game card slot, because I did nothing to the game card slot in this procedure, so there's really no point in sort of retesting it in its full capacity. It'd just be a waste of time at this point. I've already confirmed it's fine. But anyway, I will continue with this final testing protocol later. I think I'm just going to bundle these two videos together just to keep it nice and organized on my YouTube. But so where I'm at, got the bottom screen digitizer replaced, so now I need to get this console back together and go through the unfortunate process of putting on another screen protector, adding another top screen, adding an extra top screen protector to the pile of shame. I wish I could just buy bottom screen protectors because I could probably use about 10 of them at this point. So I got the bezel on, right? Yeah. So let me get this all back together. I'll put little pieces of tape over the digitizer and backlight cable again. This console went through quite an interesting final test. I guess it wouldn't be the first one I've had to change out the digitizer right at the final test. I think the last two consoles that I have ready for final testing, a rose gold and a white console, I think I had to do the same thing. I had to pull them off because their digitizers were acting up. One of them I tried to fix, and that fix didn't last. So I'm glad that it failed when it did. And the other one, I actually don't remember what happened. I think it was just one install too many. This one, where an otherwise good-looking third-party one just outright fails, is really kind of wild. I mean, I'll just put this tape right here. Why not? Ain't hurting anybody. Wait. Yes. I got everything, all the screws plugged in where I want it. Let's get these shoulder buttons back in. Make sure I get these clips clipped. Get these screws in. I did say this console's not going to be perfect. There's a pretty good scratch right there, a couple scratches right here. But I mean, like, I know people really want their flawless DSi XL consoles to prop up, I don't know, to prop up on a shelf and say, look at my thing. Which I get to some degree, but I mean, I functionally do that. I just have a bunch of consoles in boxes that I don't really play. I already occupied that screw hole. But if not to sound tacky, I think kind of non-structural blemishes like this kind of help tell its story in a way. Like, what exactly, like, skipped across it to make that gouge, I wonder. And I mean, as far as the glossy top shell is concerned, that's just always going to look bad. I mean, PlayStation 4s, original Xbox Ones, just anything that utilizes that just... Oh, Nintendo Wii U's, just anything that utilizes just that black glossy... Or dark glossy, I should say, is just destined to be sanded down by anything, really. Look at it wrong and it scratches. Alright, so let me grab another screen protector. That was a really weird third-party digitizer. I don't think I've ever encountered that. And I don't think my screen protector is bad. Now that I'm really, like, thinking on it, it can't be. I've never had a screen protector, or this, like, brand of screen protector fail me like that. And obviously I did prove that it was the digitizer that was wrong, or that was bad, but for it to have that, like, weird bumpy texture, I don't know, that was just really strange. So the bottom screen one is always smaller. So let me just make sure I didn't just bung that up. Okay, that's the bottom one. So I need to put these are all of my top screen extras that I have. I have like 7 now. And all of the extra microfiber cloths that come with them. Oh boy. Add more to the collection. Maybe for OEM digitizers I should just add top screen protectors. The OEM ones are already in pretty good shape. Okay. Now let's do this awful part. Is that a scratch? I'm not going to yield to that being a scratch. That would feed into the idea that these aftermarket digitizers scratch really easily. I have some rubbing alcohol? Yes, I do. Yeah, I think that's a scratch. I have 2 little scratches. I mean, if only to confirm that this digitizer works, that was kind of a crazy moment. I'll happily take 2 very, very light scratches. But that only justifies why I need screen protectors in the first place. Where did my tool go? Here it is. quick. By golly, it looks like feels like I've done this a few times. I want to say I'm actually getting better at this, only for me to have a time where I do awful. Ooh, salvage that a little. All right. Just gonna check it real quick. Yeah, that looks real nice. Those two little scratches I mentioned, you can't even really see. I mean, I can kind of see that one. There, kinda. Very faint. Awesome. That went very well. Okay. Whew. Let's get back to the tactile test. You know what? After all this work, I should probably do a screen protector, or a screen test first. Oh, probably need to calibrate. So, I drew a square. So, and then that is so much better. It doesn't have a texture to it. Like, it was like bumpy. I don't even really know how to describe it. It was a weird feeling. So what I'm looking for is erratic inputs. So if I were to draw the line down here, it isn't really lined up to my stylus here. I am on the edge. I also probably need to calibrate. If I were to draw a line along the edge and then just like suddenly there was just this dead zone where I just can't get any inputs, that would be because the digitizer is bad. Now in this case, I can. So that tells me that is good, which is good. Now go on to the tactile button test, which was the test I intended beforehand. Tactile buttons are just all of the face buttons and shoulder buttons. And I use this application specifically for what will be a very obvious reason. So I'll press each face button, I don't know, 10 or so times. Face buttons I'm not worried about, they're almost always fine. Now I did replace the shoulder buttons, so I am going to want to spend a little more time testing it, but just generally speaking, I usually will put a lot of time in the shoulder buttons. Because they tend to have the problems. They tend to have very weird problems too. Like, they will have it to where if you press on like the right hand side of the button, it won't register, but if you press more in the center, it will. Just weird things like that, or sometimes it only captures a few of your inputs. Or maybe just, yeah, only a few, maybe it will skip. But these ones look to be real good. I don't see any problems. So I'll call them good. Now for the rest of my tests, oh yeah, every time I soft reboot, it'll boot back into DSPico. So next I have speaker, microphone, headphone jack. For that, I'll also be comboing with a SD card slot test. Now, I have a piece of music loaded up on this SD card. My current assumption, just based on what I know, is if the console can read the SD card and read contents off of the SD card, that is enough information to tell me that the slot's okay. I'll start with the microphone, because that's the first option. And I can also check the volume buttons here, because those are the only two buttons I couldn't check. And they are responding, going up and down. As for the microphone, la 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 la. La 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 la. That works just fine. Went to SD card, sees my SD card as well as the piece of music loaded up on it. So I'm going to play the music, listen to both speakers, plug in my earbuds, listen to both channels, and just make sure all of that's working. Yep. All of that worked perfectly. Next is cameras. I don't do anything too fancy here. I just make sure they both boot and there's no weird artifacting or like distortions. I mean, these are DSi cameras. They're not going to be crisp. But I didn't see anything weird there. Next is charge port. I'll grab my USB tester here. I think I usually keep my earbuds up there. So what I'll do is grab the DS and 3DS end. I'll try and plug it in blindly here. Not so blindly. Okay, plugged in, orange light. System is responding, saying it's charging. I'm pulling 0.5 amps. Then what I'll do is jiggle around the charge port. Camera, please. And see if that orange light goes away. Which it isn't. So that's telling me that the charge port's good. All the solder joints on the charge port are good. Because if the charge port or the solder points were bad, if I were to, let's say, push it like that, that orange light could go out. Or just depending, it would kind of flicker in and out. Or you have to kind of hold it in a certain spot for it to charge type of deal. But all that's good, so I have no problem there. So game card and SD card slot was good. That's the test I did right at the very beginning. I don't have to check that again. So the last test is Wi-Fi. Now, I don't do anything too spectacular. I just make sure that it connects to a hotspot, which I can configure on my phone to a 2.4 gigahertz band, which is, my understanding, the only thing a DSi will connect to, which is very old by modern comparisons. Okay, I have the hotspot on my phone. It's nice to have a menu I can understand the language of. Last two consoles I did were in Japanese. There's my phone. There's the MAC address, and there it is. So it's saying it's connected. I'll just wait for the confirmation. I've never had a console fail this test before, but it's just something I want to make sure. I don't do anything beyond just checking to make sure it connects to a access point, because anything beyond that, I don't really see what exactly I would gain from that, per se. The console connects to the internet. It should be able to interact with all of the different services that still exist, in whatever form that may be. Like, I think you can still update your consoles. This thing's running Mac, or it's running the modern, or the highest firmware that the DSi XL got. So yeah, no, that's everything. So it passed, cleared everything. Perfect. let me get screw covers on and go through the actual like subjective assessment of the quality of like the condition this console's in. I'll grab my mother load of screw covers. Oh, my brown ones are right here. Voila. Okay, so for putting these screw protectors on, I don't do anything special. I just get a little bit of Elmer's glue. And when I mean a little, I mean very little. So what I'll do is get some of it right up here in the nozzle. Squeeze enough for just a tiny bit to come out the tip. Like that much, just enough. And then I'll just touch the top of these screws with them. Just enough to deposit an oh so little amount of glue. If you put on too much, it will ooze out when you go to put in the screw protectors, which isn't a good look. Then a combination of tweezers and plastic pry tools, I set them in. Now these screw covers kind of have a side to them as I drop this one. I think this one still has its sticker on it. But there's definitely like a glossy and like a matte side. Definitely a little less obvious than this. I don't know if I need to pull the sticker off. It's still usable. No, it's not. Okay. It was pretty much already coming off. So I'm just going to peel that off real quick. So there's the sort of the outward facing side. Sort of like a, almost like a matte. And then on the underside, it's more glossy. Not a really uh, consistent texture as well. Can't see what I'm doing. All right, those look good. Now I use a very little amount of glue because those screw protectors don't experience any mechanical stress. I cannot say the same for the feet. So I'm a little more generous when it comes to glue. That was maybe a little too much. Soak some of that up. Okay, that's better. There'll be a little bit of glue in there, so I don't envy the person that needs to take that screw out. And then hopefully which side goes up and down should be fairly obvious. Sometimes they do go in a little crooked. My tweezers are still a little tacky from when I did some soldering. I'm gonna fix that real quick. Gives everything a chance to dry for a second. Put some weight on those feet. Okay, I'm gonna grab a pair of gloves. Give this thing a good wipe down and prep for the condition assessment. Ah, glove sounds. Okay. Let me grab I'll use the pink one. Grab a microfiber cloth. Syringe, my little tiny cup of distilled water. That should be enough. Let it soak in. Then just give it a nice, just wipe down, get rid of all my fingerprints and oil and garbage. Okay, grab a dry microfiber cloth. Maybe used a little too much water, but it'll dry. It's distilled water, it won't leave any minerals. And I mean, no amount of distilled water is going to make that look better, but you know. I want to give it the best shot it can. All right, let me get paperwork here. Okay, so now I'll be doing the 4 really subjective cosmetic testing here. I just rate from 0 to 3. And it being subjective is... it hurts me, but this is really the only way I can reasonably do this. So, the first one is the physical condition of the shell. Now, that's exactly what it sounds like. It's going to be just a condition assessment of the 4 major shell pieces. So, as I've no doubt pointed out several times already, this top shell is pretty scratched up. A whole lot of light scratches. Some scuffs here on the edges. No major, like, scratches. Nothing really deep. It's just a whole lot of light scratches. Scuffs, just... I mean... yeah. I really can't, like, try to explain why this happens, because it's just a glossy shell piece. That's just what happens. Other portion of this top shell piece looks fine. The hinges, I mean, like, there's some, like, light marks right there. I think there's a screw, a little bit of discoloring on the hinge. Going around. Some discoloring here on the edges. Ooh, I didn't catch this. It's a pretty good blemish right there. That's a drop, probably. Took an impact. Yeah, that's a pretty good mark. Nothing that compromises the integrity of the shell, but that's a good blemish. There's a mark right there. Upper shell piece is in great shape. Lower shell piece, you'll see around the face buttons and the D-pad, there's like this almost like glossy halo to it. And that is just like that's just wear from a finger pressing these buttons, just rubbing down the shell. Now, to me, it appears that just those areas look a little darker. I'm going to try and see if I can get like a good angle on it. Yeah, that's pretty good. They just look a little darker. As far as the rest of this shell piece, I don't notice anything. The rear, as I've noticed out, or have pointed out, there's a couple of these scratches. Mark right there. A little bit of marks on the text. There's a good gash right there. Fingernail catches on it. And just some, like, discoloring around the corners. That one in particular. Ooh, and yeah, some right there. There's this little piece of, like, grass or something. Irritating me. This thing. I don't know what that is. There. Into the trash you go. So this shell's not good. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Ooh. Like, I think all but one of the shell pieces are in pretty rough shape. Like, this upper face shell piece is the only one that's in, like, perfect shape. The rest are kind of rough. The bottom shell isn't horrible. Got a couple marks. It can get a lot worse. I don't think I can justify a fair, but I will give it a good. Because I think when you're looking at the console, if you don't mind the marks around the ABY or the ABY button and the D-pad, the shell itself looks pretty great. So let me see. Heavy scratching on glossy. With deep mark on corner. Discoloration around face buttons. And then several scratches on rear. With marks on corners. Okay. Next, physical condition of the hardware, which is all of the buttons and the screw protectors. Now this screw protector kind of popped out a little. They kind of like to do that. I mean, I didn't really look at these screw protectors too closely, but they all look good. They don't have any marks from when I took them out originally. They don't have the little holes on the sides. ABYX Star Select look fine. D-pad has a scratch in it that's no doubt pretty visible. Nothing that catches my fingernail, and I didn't notice it. There's a couple scratches on the D-pad. Volume button looks fine. When I pick out shoulder buttons, I try to match the shell condition, so because the corners of the shell had some paint missing, I did the same for the shoulder buttons, so both the L and the R have little marks on the edges, just to keep everything consistent. And these screw covers are fine, I don't really have anything to say about them. I'll say they're very good. Scratches on D-pad. Marks on shoulders. Next is the physical condition of the screens. Now those are the physical screens, or the like the pieces in front of the LCD displays. So that would be the top screen lens and the digitizer. As I combat dust. I mean, there is a little bit of debris below the lens, I think. Just a little, but I don't see any scratches. And as far as the bottom screen's concerned, like, there's that one scratch that I have to, like, really get, like, the perfect angle on to even see it. But I did never check. Yeah, just to make sure that debris didn't block any pixels. I mean, I almost wouldn't classify that scratch as a scratch because I can't even see it. Like, there's some debris below the top screen lens, but I'm debating whether or not I want to actually give it an excellent, or if I should kick it down one because it has debris underneath. You know, I'm trying to figure out what's going on over here as well. I think that's just screen protector. I'll give it a very good. And just cite it as debris under lens. Okay, and then the last one is the screen condition. Now these are the actual the LCD displays themselves. Now I mentioned this at the beginning. These two screens match very well. Like, I'm very impressed with that. I don't really have anything else to say but excellent. I'm very pleased with those. Okay. Like, I don't see anything wrong, so let's see. I have 3, 3, 6, 7, 8. Right at the tail end of very good. I think I'm okay with that. I mean, just looking at the shell, you would think, like, really? Very good, but I think as far as the console's experience goes, 2 matching screens, shell pieces that look pretty good, or face shell screens that look pretty good. Face shell screens, face shells. Yeah, I mean, that's how my scoring system goes, and if I want to... I think I'm okay with that. Oh, I want that on. Okay, now I'm gonna get ready to do the actual final score little video thing. Let me get everything in position. I don't want a wet paper towel. I have a specific silly way I like setting these up. Oh, I can say this one passed test 3. I usually forget to update this little guy. Alright, cool.